10. Black gay couples in Hollywood making history together. For decades, Hollywood told us who was allowed to love and who had to stay silent. Black gay couples were rarely seen, and when they were, their stories were often erased, distorted, or ignored. But what happens when truth refuses to stay hidden? Today, we uncovered 10 Black LGBTQ+ couples whose love quietly challenged an entire industry and rewrote cultural history in the process. These are not gossip stories. These are legacies. Watch closely because some of these names may surprise you and their impact may change how you see Hollywood forever. Subscribe now to Legends of Black Excellence so you don't miss what comes next. Brian Michael Smith and Denise Smith. Brian Michael Smith and Denise Smith occupy a singular place in modern Hollywood, not because they sought to be symbols, but because their lived reality quietly reshaped what representation can look like. Their story is not built on spectacle or controversy. Instead, it unfolds through patience, resolve, and an unwavering belief in personal truth. Brian's professional breakthrough came when he joined the cast of 911 Lone Star, marking a historic moment in American television. As one of the first openly transgender black men to appear regularly in a primetime drama, his presence challenged decades of exclusion without relying on shock value. He portrayed strength not through exaggeration, but through normalcy, showing audiences that authenticity does not need explanation to be valid. Yet his public success was preceded by a private reckoning. From an early age, Brian understood that the expectations placed upon him did not reflect his internal reality. His eventual decision to transition was neither impulsive nor performative. It was the result of careful self-reflection and the courage to align his outer life with his inner understanding. This journey, often misunderstood by outsiders, required resilience far beyond the camera's gaze. At the center of that journey stood Denise Smith. While she does not seek public recognition, her influence is undeniable. Denise remained a steady presence during moments of uncertainty, growth, and increased visibility. Their marriage reflects a shared commitment grounded in mutual respect rather than public approval. In a culture that often treats relationships as disposable, their bond emphasizes endurance over display. What does true partnership look like when life demands profound change rather than comfort? Together, Brian and Denise offer an alternative model of love, one that adapts rather than resists transformation. Their relationship speaks directly to audiences who understand long-term commitment, particularly those who have navigated decades of evolving social norms. For many older viewers, their story reframes familiar values, loyalty, honesty, and perseverance within a contemporary context. Their significance also lies in how they broaden conversations within Black communities where discussions of gender identity have often been shaped by tradition and silence. Without confrontation or rhetoric, Brian and Denise present lived evidence that family faith and self-respect can coexist with change. They do not argue for acceptance. They embody it. In Hollywood, where narratives are often exaggerated or simplified, Brian Michael Smith and Denise Smith stand apart by remaining grounded. Their legacy is not measured by headlines or awards, but by the quiet reassurance they offer to those who see themselves reflected for the first time. Ultimately, their story reminds us that history is not always forged through grand gestures. Sometimes it is shaped through everyday choices to be honest, to remain present, and to move forward together even when the path is unfamiliar. Brittney Griner and Cherelle Griner. Brittney Griner and Cherelle Griner represent a form of partnership forged not only through love but through extraordinary pressure. Their story extends far beyond sports headlines, offering a rare look at devotion tested on a global stage. Brittney Griner rose to prominence as one of the most dominant figures in women's basketball history. Standing 6 feet 9 inches tall, she redefined the center position in the WNBA, earning multiple All-Star selections, 2 Olympic gold medals with Team USA, and a championship title with the Phoenix Mercury in 2014. Her athletic achievements alone secured her legacy. Yet it was her life beyond the court that would later command worldwide attention. Openly gay in a professional sports culture that has not always embraced difference, Britney lived with authenticity long before it was widely accepted. That same openness shaped her relationship with Cherelle Griner, a trained attorney whose world initially existed far from arenas and television cameras. They married in 2019, building a life grounded in shared values rather than public visibility. Their private bond was thrust into the international spotlight in February 2022 when Britney was detained in Russia on drug-related charges. What followed was nearly 10 months of uncertainty, diplomatic negotiations, and intense media scrutiny. Throughout that ordeal, Cherelle emerged as far more than a spouse waiting on the sidelines. She became Britney's voice advocate and strategist, addressing world leaders, engaging with the press, and mobilizing public support with clarity and resolve. Cherelle's actions reshaped how the public understood strength. She spoke not with anger but with purpose, balancing legal precision with emotional honesty. For many viewers, particularly older Americans accustomed to quieter forms of activism, her presence recalled a familiar truth. Resilience often appears in calm persistence rather than loud protest. When Britney was released in December 2022 following a prisoner exchange, the moment symbolized more than diplomatic resolution. It underscored the power of unwavering partnership. Their reunion resonated deeply not as a political spectacle, but as a reminder of what commitment looks like when circumstances spiral beyond control. Together, Britney and Cherelle challenge assumptions about masculinity, marriage, and vulnerability. Britney's public persona, physically imposing, athletically gifted, contrasts with the emotional openness she has shown about fear, isolation, and gratitude. Cherelle's steadiness reinforces the idea that leadership within a relationship does not require dominance, only responsibility. For audiences aged 45 to 65, their story carries particular weight. It echoes familiar values, loyalty, endurance, and faith in justice, while unfolding within a modern context shaped by global politics and evolving conversations around identity. Britney Griner and Cherelle Griner did not seek to become symbols. Yet through circumstance and character, they have come to embody something enduring: the belief that love, when anchored in purpose, can withstand forces far beyond personal control and emerge with dignity intact. Cynthia Erivo and Lena Waithe. Cynthia Erivo and Lena Waithe stand at a powerful intersection of artistry, identity, and cultural influence. While their individual careers have already secured their places in entertainment history, their public connection has carried particular meaning, especially for Black LGBTQ+ audiences searching for visibility grounded in excellence rather than controversy. Cynthia Erivo emerged as a rare, commanding talent whose voice and presence transcended genre. Her Tony Award-winning performance in The Color Purple reintroduced Broadway audiences to the emotional depth of classic storytelling, while her portrayal of Harriet Tubman earned her an Academy Award nomination. With those achievements, Erivo joined an elite group of performers recognized across theater, film, and music. Yet alongside critical acclaim, she has also been open about living authentically as a queer Black woman in an industry that has not always welcomed such honesty. Lena Waithe's influence developed through storytelling rather than performance alone. As the first Black woman to win an Emmy Award for comedy writing, Master of None, she reshaped how marginalized voices could exist within mainstream television. Projects such as The Chi and Queen and Slim further established her commitment to narratives centered on Black life complexity and truth. Waithe has consistently spoken about the responsibility of representation, particularly for LGBTQ+ creators who rarely saw themselves reflected growing up. When Erivo and Waithe appeared publicly connected through interviews, creative circles, and cultural spaces, the moment resonated widely. Whether defined as a personal bond, a creative alignment, or a shared visibility, their association symbolized possibility. Two accomplished Black queer women, each commanding respect in her field, standing unapologetically in their authenticity. What does it mean when representation arrives through excellence rather than explanation? For many viewers over 45, their presence recalled a striking contrast with earlier eras when such identities were either hidden or distorted. Neither Erivo nor Wave relied on shock or spectacle to be seen. Their credibility came from mastery, voice, pen, and purpose. That distinction matters especially to audiences who value substance over trend. Importantly, both women have been careful to protect the boundaries of their private lives. In an age driven by speculation, they have allowed their work to speak first. This restraint reinforces a powerful message: visibility does not require constant disclosure. Dignity can coexist with openness. Together, Cynthia Erivo and Lena Waithe represent a generational shift, not simply in who is visible, but in how visibility functions. Their impact lies less in labels and more in legacy. They have expanded the creative space available to Black LGBTQ+ artists, ensuring future generations inherit possibility rather than limitation. In Hollywood's long and uneven history, progress has often arrived quietly carried forward by those who refuse to shrink. Through talent, intention, and integrity, Erivo and Waithe have helped redefine what leadership looks like on stage, on screen, and beyond it. Niecy Nash and Jessica Betts. Niecy Nash and Jessica Betts embody a story of self-realization that arrived not early but precisely when it was meant to. Their relationship challenges one of society's most persistent assumptions that love, clarity, and transformation belong only to youth. Instead, their journey affirms that authenticity has no deadline. Niecy Nash built her career across decades, becoming a familiar and trusted presence in American households. From her comedic breakout on Reno 911 to dramatic performances in When They See Us and Dahmer, Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, Nash demonstrated a rare versatility. In 2024, she won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress, a milestone that crowned years of steady, respected work. Long before awards, however, audiences connected with her warmth, humor, and emotional transparency. Jessica Betts followed a different path. Known for her soulful R&B sound, she developed a loyal following through music rooted in vulnerability and faith. Betts had already lived openly as a lesbian artist, expressing identity through songwriting rather than interviews or headlines. Her work emphasized introspection, healing, and spiritual grounding qualities that would later define their partnership. When Nash revealed in 2020 that she had married Betts, the announcement surprised many. Nash had previously been married to men, and the public was unprepared for such a candid declaration. Yet the message she delivered was measured and clear. This was not about labels, but about truth. Their wedding photos, radiating joy rather than provocation, quickly resonated across generations. What sets their relationship apart is its sense of peace. Rather than framing their union as a dramatic turning point, both women emphasized alignment emotionally, spiritually, and creatively. They have spoken about choosing each other daily, grounding their marriage in communication and shared values rather than public validation. For older audiences, their story holds particular weight. Many grew up in eras where personal reinvention carried social risk. Nash and Betts offer reassurance that honesty does not erase the past, it reframes it. Their love does not negate earlier chapters, it completes them. Publicly, they appear together with ease, whether attending award ceremonies or sharing quiet moments through music and reflection. Betts often credits Nash with offering emotional safety, while Nash speaks of finally feeling fully seen. Their dynamic resists spectacle. It invites understanding. Within the broader landscape of Hollywood, Niecy Nash and Jessica Betts contribute something essential: visibility without urgency, pride without performance. They expand representation for Black queer women, not through confrontation but through example. Their story ultimately reminds us that fulfillment is not bound by timing. Sometimes the most meaningful chapters are written after long journeys, when confidence has replaced fear, and love arrives not as a question but as an answer. Queen Latifah and Ebony Nichols. Queen Latifah and Ebony Nichols represent a form of influence rarely seen in Hollywood, one built not on constant disclosure, but on longevity, discipline, and quiet confidence. Their story speaks to a generation that understands privacy as strength rather than avoidance, and success as something best sustained away from unnecessary noise. Queen Latifah's career spans more than 3 decades, crossing music, film, television, and business with remarkable consistency. Emerging in the late 1980s as one of the first female rappers to command mainstream respect, she later transitioned into acting with roles in Living Single, Set It Off, Chicago, and The Equalizer. Few artists have navigated such varied arenas without losing credibility. Even fewer have done so while subtly challenging norms around gender power and identity. For many years, Latifah chose not to publicly define her personal life. In an era when speculation often overshadowed substance, she allowed her work to remain the focal point. That restraint resonated strongly with older audiences who value discretion and self-determination. Her legacy was built on achievement, not explanation. Ebony Nichols brings a different yet equally formidable presence. As a professional choreographer, she has worked behind the scenes on major productions, collaborating with artists such as Beyoncé, Usher, and Jennifer Lopez. Her career reflects precision, creativity, and leadership qualities honed outside the spotlight. Nichols' contributions have shaped some of the most memorable performances in modern pop culture, even when her name remained unfamiliar to the public. Their relationship came into wider awareness gradually, without announcements or orchestrated reveals. In 2021, during Queen Latifah's acceptance speech for the BET Lifetime Achievement Award, she offered a brief but heartfelt acknowledgement of "My love, Ebony." The moment was understated yet powerful. For many viewers, it felt less like a revelation and more like a confirmation and affirmation delivered on her own terms. What does it mean to claim happiness without feeling the need to justify it? Together, Latifah and Nichols exemplify a partnership grounded in mutual respect and independence. Neither relies on the other for validation, yet both appear deeply aligned in values and purpose. Their approach challenges a media culture that often equates visibility with relevance. Instead, they demonstrate that stability can exist quietly, sustained by trust rather than attention. For audiences aged 45 to 65, their dynamic may feel especially familiar. It reflects a generational understanding that love matures best when protected from unnecessary scrutiny. In that sense, their relationship feels less like a celebrity headline and more like a lived truth. Within the broader narrative of Black LGBTQ+ representation, Queen Latifah and Ebony Nichols occupy a distinct space. They are not activists by proclamation, yet their existence carries symbolic weight. By thriving without spectacle, they expand the definition of what representation can look like, measured, dignified, and enduring. Their story reminds us that history is not only shaped by those who speak the loudest. Sometimes it is written by those who move steadily forward, confident enough to let their lives speak for themselves. Lee Daniels and Jaheel Fisher. Lee Daniels and Jaheel Fisher represent a partnership shaped by vision, restraint, and mutual grounding qualities often overlooked in an industry driven by spectacle. Their story is not defined by red carpet declarations, but by longevity within a creative world that rarely slows down. Lee Daniels is widely recognized as one of Hollywood's most fearless storytellers. As the creator of Empire and the director behind Precious and The Butler, Daniels built a career on confronting uncomfortable truths: poverty, race, trauma, power, and family fracture. His work did not soften reality for mass appeal. Instead, it demanded audiences sit with complexity. As an openly gay black man, Daniels' rise carried added weight, particularly during a time when few studio-backed projects were led by creators who looked like him and spoke so plainly. Behind that public intensity exists a more private balance found in his relationship with Jaheel Fisher. Fisher works largely behind the scenes, known within fashion and casting circles for his creative sensibility and professional discretion. Unlike Daniels, Fisher has never sought public recognition, choosing instead to operate in spaces where influence is quiet but consistent. Their worlds intersect without competing, one highly visible, the other deliberately grounded. The two have been linked publicly since around 2010, appearing together at industry events while maintaining firm boundaries around their personal life. They are not known for interviews about their relationship, nor have they framed their partnership as a public statement. That choice, particularly within celebrity culture, is itself meaningful. Their dynamic offers a counterpoint to the myth that power couples must perform intimacy to remain relevant. Daniels' career has often required emotional excavation, while Fisher's presence provides stability beyond the spotlight. This contrast appears to be the foundation of their endurance, each honoring the other's rhythm rather than forcing alignment. For older audiences, their relationship may resonate as refreshingly familiar. It reflects a generation that values loyalty, privacy, and the understanding that love does not require public approval to be legitimate. Daniels has spoken openly about the hardships of his early life, including rejection and survival. That history gives context to why peace, rather than noise, seems central to his personal world. Culturally, Lee Daniels' openness has already expanded visibility for Black gay men in leadership roles. Jahil Fisher's quieter contribution reinforces an equally important lesson: not every supportive partner needs to stand center stage to be essential. Together, they demonstrate that strength within a relationship can be asymmetrical without being unequal. In an entertainment landscape that often confuses attention with meaning, Lee Daniels and Jahil Fisher remind us that sustainability comes from alignment, not applause. Their story does not ask to be celebrated, it simply exists steady and intact. And sometimes that is the most radical narrative of all. RuPaul Charles and George LeBar. RuPaul Charles and George LeBar embody a partnership that defies nearly every expectation placed upon celebrity relationships. While RuPaul is globally recognized for extravagance, wit, and unapologetic self-expression, the foundation of his personal life is built on stillness, distance from noise, and intentional simplicity. RuPaul's cultural impact is difficult to overstate. Long before drag entered mainstream television, he carved space for it through sheer perseverance. From the early 1990s hit Supermodel You Better Work to the Emmy-winning phenomenon, RuPaul's Drag Race, he transformed a once marginalized art form into an international platform. Over the years, RuPaul has won more than a dozen primetime Emmy Awards, becoming one of the most decorated figures in reality television history. Yet despite fame rooted in spectacle, his private world follows a different rhythm entirely. That contrast is where George LeBar enters the story. LeBar is a painter, writer, and rancher who has deliberately avoided Hollywood's gravitational pull. Born in Australia and raised partly in Paris, he cultivated a life centered on artland and solitude. His Wyoming ranch, far removed from red carpets and studio lights, became the shared retreat where their relationship quietly matured. The two met in the mid-1990s at a nightclub in New York City. At the time, RuPaul's career was ascending rapidly, while LeBar was committed to a life defined by creative independence. From the beginning, they agreed on a relationship structure that prioritized honesty and autonomy. They later spoke openly about maintaining an open marriage, a choice that sparked discussion, but also reinforced their belief that commitment does not require uniformity. Can long-lasting love exist without ownership or constant proximity? In 2017, after more than 2 decades together, RuPaul and LeBar married. The ceremony was intentionally understated. No media spectacle, no public rollout. For many longtime fans, the moment felt consistent with everything the couple had shown before celebration without performance. What resonates strongly with older audiences is the maturity of their arrangement. Their partnership is not framed around fantasy or dependency. Instead, it reflects a generation's understanding that love can evolve, expand, and remain intact without rigid expectations. RuPaul has often spoken about the importance of inner peace, crediting LaBar's grounded lifestyle as a counterbalance to public life. Within LGBTQ+ history, their relationship offers a rare example of longevity in an industry notorious for instability. While RuPaul's public persona celebrates freedom and self-expression, his personal bond demonstrates discipline, boundaries, and mutual respect. Together, RuPaul, Charles, and Georges LaBar illustrate a paradox. The most flamboyant public figure in drag culture sustains a deeply private, steady partnership far from the spotlight. Their story challenges the assumption that visibility and intimacy must look the same. In doing so, they remind us that love, when rooted in clarity and consent, does not need to follow tradition to endure. It simply needs to be true to the people living it. Raven-Symoné and Miranda Pierman-Mayday. Raven-Symoné and Miranda Pierman-Mayday offer a story shaped not by early certainty, but by personal growth earned over time. Their relationship resonates deeply with audiences who understand that self-acceptance is often a gradual process, especially for those who grow up under constant public scrutiny. Raven-Symoné became a household name before reaching adulthood. From her early role on The Cosby Show to global fame through Disney's That's So Raven, she spent decades living in front of cameras. Unlike many child stars, she navigated fame with resilience, expanding into music hosting and later returning to television with Raven's Home. Yet behind professional success, Raven has openly acknowledged the difficulty of reconciling identity with expectation, particularly within an industry that rarely afforded young black performers room to define themselves privately. Miranda Pierman-Mayday entered Raven's life from a different world entirely. Working as a social media manager, she built her career outside entertainment, grounded in structure and routine rather than applause. That contrast proved meaningful. Where Raven's life had long been shaped by performance, Miranda's offered normalcy, a space free from scripts and spotlights. Their connection became public in 2020 when Raven revealed that they had married in a small, intimate ceremony. The announcement surprised fans not because of secrecy, but because of its simplicity. There was no prolonged rollout, no media campaign, just a shared moment of happiness. For many viewers, particularly older ones, the reveal felt refreshing, recalling an era when personal milestones were lived, first announced later. What distinguishes their partnership is balance. Raven has spoken about how Miranda encouraged her to slow down, to prioritize wellness, and to embrace authenticity without fear. In return, Raven brings creativity, humor, and emotional openness into their shared life. Neither attempts to reshape the other. Instead, they meet in the middle, allowing differences to strengthen rather than divide. Their marriage also marked a turning point for Raven personally. After years of guarded statements, she began speaking more freely about identity, mental health, and happiness. The shift was not dramatic but deliberate, suggesting confidence rather than rebellion. For audiences who grew up watching Raven on screen, this evolution felt earned rather than abrupt. Publicly, the couple maintains boundaries. They share glimpses, not access. Their approach challenges the assumption that visibility requires exposure. Instead, they model a version of modern partnership that values transparency without surrendering privacy. Within the broader landscape of Black LGBTQ+ representation, Raven-Symoné and Miranda Pierman-Mayday contribute something understated yet essential: proof that fulfillment does not require explanation, and that love can arrive quietly after long seasons of self-protection. Their story reminds us that reinvention does not always come through reinvention itself. Sometimes it comes through finding the right person who allows you to finally rest in who you already are. Karamo Brown and Carlos Medel. Karamo Brown and Carlos Medel represent a partnership shaped by empathy, patience, and emotional literacy, qualities rarely emphasized in celebrity culture, yet essential to long-lasting connection. Their story reflects growth rather than perfection, and vulnerability rather than image. Karamo Brown first entered public awareness in 2004 as a cast member on The Real World Philadelphia, making history as the first openly gay black man on reality television. At the time, such visibility came with personal cost. Brown later spoke about the pressure of navigating identity fatherhood and public judgment simultaneously long before conversations about mental health became mainstream. Years later, his role as the culture expert on Netflix's Queer Eye reframed him for a new generation, not as a spectacle, but as a guide grounded in compassion and accountability. Outside television, Brown has established himself as an author, speaker, and advocate for emotional wellness. His work consistently centers on healing, particularly for men taught to suppress feeling in favor of performance. That focus informs not only his public life, but also his approach to partnership. Carlos Medel, a Mexican-American photographer and creative director, comes from a background defined by observation rather than exposure. Through visual storytelling, Medel explores identity, intimacy, and representation, often turning the lens toward communities historically pushed to the margins. His work values nuance and presence, aligning naturally with Brown's emphasis on reflection and communication. Their relationship developed over time, marked by mutual respect and shared growth. The couple became publicly known through appearances and interviews, yet they have remained candid about the reality that partnership is not linear. In 2021, Brown proposed to Medel, sharing the moment with audiences not as a fairy tale, but as a commitment grounded in learning and repair. Can love deepen when both people are willing to confront their own blind spots? What distinguishes their bond is honesty. Brown has spoken openly about past mistakes and the work required to rebuild trust. Rather than presenting an idealized version of romance, they allowed space for accountability, an approach that resonated strongly with older viewers familiar with the complexities of long-term relationships. Their dynamic also challenges stereotypes around masculinity. Both men reject emotional distance, choosing instead to engage fully with discomfort and dialogue. This openness reframes strength as responsiveness rather than control, offering an alternative model for partnership that prioritizes understanding. Publicly, they balance visibility with intention. While Brown's career places him in the spotlight, Medel maintains a grounded presence rooted in craft rather than celebrity. Together, they demonstrate that influence does not require dominance. It grows through alignment. Within the broader narrative of Black LGBTQ+ representation, Karamo Brown and Carlos Medel contribute a crucial perspective: love as a practice. Their relationship underscores the idea that connection is not sustained by chemistry alone, but by choice, reflection, and continuous effort. Their story speaks especially to audiences who know that meaningful relationships are built over time, shaped by setbacks, strengthened by conversation, and renewed through commitment. In a media landscape drawn to extremes, Brown and Medel remind us that real partnership lives in the middle space, where growth is ongoing and authenticity remains the goal. Robin Roberts and Amber Laign. Robin Roberts and Amber Laign represent a version of love built through time, patience, and shared endurance, qualities deeply familiar to those who understand that the most meaningful bonds are rarely rushed. Their story is not defined by sudden revelation, but by years of quiet commitment that unfolded long before the public took notice. Robin Roberts is one of the most trusted figures in American broadcast journalism. As a longtime co-anchor of Good Morning America, she earned credibility through warmth, professionalism, and emotional intelligence. Her career includes multiple Peabody Awards and recognition for journalistic excellence, but her public respect was cemented through something more personal: her openness about surviving breast cancer and later a rare bone marrow disorder. Those moments revealed not only resilience, but a grounded sense of gratitude that resonated strongly with mature audiences. Amber Laign entered Robin's life well before public acknowledgement. A certified massage therapist and wellness entrepreneur, Lane co-founded Plant Juice Oils, a brand focused on essential oils and holistic self-care. Her professional world centers on balance healing and intentional living principles that quietly shaped the foundation of their partnership. The couple met in 2005 and remained together for years outside media attention. In 2013, when Robin publicly acknowledged her sexuality in a social media message thanking her partner, the moment felt measured rather than dramatic. It was not framed as a declaration, but as recognition, an affirmation offered with calm assurance. For many viewers over 45, their relationship felt immediately relatable. It reflected a generation's understanding that privacy is not secrecy, and that personal truth does not require performance. Robin continued to lead a major morning program without shifting focus from her work, while Amber maintained her own professional path without seeking visibility. Their journey reached another milestone in September 2023, when Robin Roberts and Amber Lane married after nearly 2 decades together. The ceremony followed the same pattern as their relationship: intimate, intentional, and free from spectacle. It was less a beginning than a continuation, affirming what had already been lived daily. What makes their partnership especially meaningful is how it redefines representation for older LGBTQ+ audiences. Their story affirms that love does not expire and authenticity does not have a deadline. Robin and Amber demonstrate that fulfillment can arrive alongside stability, routine, and mutual care, values deeply rooted in lived experience. Publicly, they appear with ease rather than display. Amber has supported Robin through health challenges, while Robin has spoken about gratitude for unwavering companionship. Neither seeks to define the other. Instead, they move in parallel, allowing individuality to strengthen unity. In a media culture drawn to extremes, Robin Roberts and Amber Lane offer something rare: reassurance. Their story reminds us that lasting partnership is often built quietly through shared mornings, difficult seasons, and an understanding that love grows strongest when nurtured without urgency. Together, they expand the narrative of Black LGBTQ+ visibility by showing that history can be made not only through firsts, but through faithfulness over time. These 10 couples remind us that history is not shaped by visibility alone, but by consistency, courage, and choice. Some lived openly from the start, while others claimed their truth later in life, each path equally valid. Their stories raise an important question for our time: does progress require public declaration, or can quiet endurance be just as powerful? As representation continues to evolve, audiences must decide what they value: more spectacle or substance, visibility or integrity. Perhaps the real legacy of Black excellence is not how loudly love is displayed, but how faithfully it is lived.